After that terrible Portsmouth result, Preston fans are starting to whisper, let's hope there's 3 worse teams than us, and let's just get through to January. But have we got bigger questions to answer, as in, are these players actually good enough for this league? We're also talking about refereeing standards, and with the American election just gone, we're asking, what's the best North American or South American import to impact on Preston? We've got Harvey, Etienne, and the Ash all back together this week. So go on then, Harvey. Are there 3 worse teams than Preston that you've seen so far?
I mean, if you'd have asked me this last week, I'd have probably said, the teams below us. But I mean, one of them's just beat us quite comfortably as well. So I don't know. It's hard to tell at the minute, is it? I think it's like you look at the midweek result and then the weekend result. I think it's chalk and cheese between like the performances. And at the minute, we just look very far off it. So I wouldn't know if there's a team worse than us at the minute, to be honest.
Etienne, help me, Harvey. Help me understand how you can hold Sunderland on a Wednesday night and look quite compact and look like you're playing for the shirts and everyone's together, to going and putting in that kind of performance at Pompey. How does one team end up being so different 4 days apart?
I think it's just the story of our season so far. We've had some really good performances, especially against sides up there. Midweek Deepdale is a fortress, and somehow it still is. We played really well. We should have won. How Kane Kessler-Hayden missed that chance in the second minute, I won't know. But at the moment, I think confidence going into away games is just at an all-time low. We just can't seem to ever really perform. Stay in the game. We've got a couple of draws. The rest losses, still haven't won away from home. So going to Portsmouth, as soon as you see that notification saying you're 1-0 down, you're like, well, that's the game over.
Ash, we can't put this on Heckingbottom, can we? But there's a couple of tweets that have said, and I'll just read one to you from Carl, who says, I'm pretty fed up with him giving the same players loads of game times who clearly aren't good enough and not giving other players a chance. I've seen how he's trying to get us to play, which is far better than Lowe, but he's just picking the same 11, and that's why the results aren't changing. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, he made a couple of changes from the Sunderland game, which I thought were odd changes. I didn't agree with the squad selection. I can see why people are saying that. I'm guessing that's probably aimed at Reece, right? Because he's the only guy that's consistently started. And maybe Hughes, I think there's a shout for putting Best in just to see. It can't really get much worse than what our defence has been like. Yeah, I don't think there's any blame on Heckingbottom at all whatsoever. He's too new in the job. He's been here a few months, and the squad was, it was as bad as it is now when he came in. So there's not much he's been able to do really. And I was saying recently, I think it's great that we're actually scoring some goals and we're actually getting some attacking play. At least we're actually enjoying being crap for once. So it could be worse. It could be better. But I don't think he gets any blame from me.
Okay. Harvey, can we have a chat about wing backs? I haven't watched Preston as much as you guys have, but when I do dip into the games, it's quite clear to me that this group of players can't play with wing backs. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, just as a neutral, but is it time to just abandon this?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think Heckie's come in obviously with a squad of Law's players, which was heavily reliant on a wing-back system. So I think it is a case of kind of you're playing with what you get, but I think he changed it to a 4-back against Portsmouth in the second half. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did. And regardless of how we still lost, I think we did look a lot better in that second half. So I think if there is anything to take from that performance, it would be that you clearly look better with a solid back four rather than trying to implement something that doesn't work, if that makes sense.
Is that forcing a back four though, Etienne? Because you've all committed in the past, you just don't have the players to play in that way. It's like what Lowe brought in, wasn't it? But against Derby in the next game. Would you start with a flat back four?
It's really hard to say. It's ridiculous that we can't really seem to play wing backs when we've been playing it for the last 3 years. And then trying to force a four back, you have to put Potts at right back, which he's not. He's not a right back. Kane Hayden as well. He actually does look like an actual wing back. He's showing glimpses of what he can give us. We were singing his praises last month. I think if we put him at flat left back, he won't be able to have as much impact. He'd look a bit uncreative, and I don't think he's the best defensively. And then it's the whole story of the two centre backs. I think if you go with two centre backs, their passing becomes even more of an issue because you've got to get that wide and you've got to get it through the attacking lines. And I don't think Story, Lindsay, Watmo, and definitely not Andrew Hughes are up to that. And we haven't seen enough of Best to justify that either. So, yeah, I still won't go with a 4. And every time I do see it, we do look encouraging, but it never really truly changes the game. I don't really have an answer there because both the 5 and the 4 are not that good.
Cheers for Etienne. Ash, this was the team that obviously started against Portsmouth. There's so many tweets we saw that said, "Can't wait to drop Hughes, Woodman, and Reese." Who'd you drop them for, though, Ash?
It's a bit of a struggle. I actually think the squad's ripe for 4-2-3-1. You put Potts alongside McCann, probably in the kind of defensive midfield roles. And I think we need Brady back, which I never thought I'd see myself saying, but you could play him at left back and Kessler Hayden on the right at a push. But yeah, me honestly, the person I'm dropping immediately is Watmore. The boy's a bomb scare. I actually haven't seen anybody look that scared to play football. So he's gone for me straight away. And I don't think we have anyone. I mean, you look at Millie coming back in for Reese will be a big boost. We need him back desperately. You've seen that from how much we struggle to attack teams. And I just think he offers more pressure in chasing players and pressing. And I think we've really missed that, which has helped us leak goals. So yeah, Hughes looks past it. It's unfortunate because I quite like him or did previously. And he just looks too slow. I'd be chucking Best in, and if he's bad, he's bad. Like I said previously, he can't get much worse than what we're doing right now.
Okay. All right then. If you haven't yet subscribed, you know what to do. Press that big button just underneath Ash at the bottom there. We really love making this content for you, as we say every single week. There's loads of Preston content so you can watch, but we like to think that we are, we certainly have the most entertaining views, if not the most accurate anyway. On this channel, I want to talk briefly about referees, though, if that's okay. We talked with Ash a couple of weeks ago about the Bristol City one, which was a scandal one. We've had a couple more which have been equally as bad across other teams. We know the refereeing standards are bad, Harvey, so we won't get into that. But how do you solve it without VAR? What do you do? You're a journalist. What would you do if you were in charge of the FA?
That's the question, isn't it? I'm one of them people that as much as I hate VAR and I think like the damage it does to Premier League football, I think with the massive decline that referees have in this league, I do think VAR needs to be implemented. Just because like there's so much that like assistant refs, linos, and refs on the field are missing, and I think it's massive to teams, especially like lower down and higher up, that are getting the big decisions against them. But I don't really think there's many other ways to solve it. Like I said, the standard is just declining week in, week out for me. And I think until there's a quick way to solve it, I think the league's going to struggle massively.
Etienne, the Bristol City handball against you guys was missed by the referee, according to the reports. He didn't see it happen. But the stuff this week, the Stoke Millwall penalty, if you've seen it, where it's literally WWE tombstoned him to the ground, and the referee stood watching it and doesn't even brandish a yellow card is just unfathomable. Without VAR, are we just going to see a continual decline in refereeing standards?
Oh, yeah, it's been getting worse for years now, and if they do not do anything about it, which after the last few weeks, I mean, we had the Reece offside, we've had this Hirakawa handball, and then that Stoke one, it's a straight red card and a penalty, and he's given nothing, and Stoke have potentially been cost 2 more points there, and it just does not look like it's going to get better at all. I read something today about the Burnley West Brom one where he was told to give the goal and he didn't. He just ignored his linesman. I feel like some referees do have a bit of an ego complex. Sometimes they want to be right all the time, so they ignore the team around them. If something's not done, if there's no extra training or there's just no like sanctions or anything to punish these referees making mistakes, it's just going to keep getting worse.
That's it, 'cause I do keep a ref watch, and every time there's a big blunder, I do try and look at where the next game is, but they don't get demoted, and if they do, they might end up in League One for 1 week, and then they're back in the Championship game the next.
Yeah,
Ash, and how would you solve it?
I think I have 2 suggestions. The first would be to get ex-players more involved in coaching the referees, helping them understand certain situations. Because I feel like if you haven't been involved at a high level, it's quite hard to judge on whether something's intentional. Secondly, I think the demotion thing is stupid. I think every game is as valuable as any other one. So if you're demoting someone from a Premier League game because they've had an absolute stinker and putting them in a Championship game, what's to say they're not going to have a stinker again? So I think they should be. If it's a gross error, they should be suspended for the next week. Similar to if a footballer gets a red card, they get a ban. And I think there has to be some honesty from the top. If you look at, I think is it Howard Webb that's in the guy that's in charge of them at PG Mall? Yeah, I think they have to just be more honest with everyone instead of trying to defend the refs. And they've just got to say it as it is. A spade is a spade. It wasn't good enough. We're not going to accept it. And if it's not acceptable, then you're going to miss games.
Absolutely, yeah. Here. Let us know your thoughts on all of that. Then Derby County next. Then, gosh, Paul Warne does not play attractive football, so this isn't going to be one for the neutrals to watch. Harvey, but they have got a terrible away record. So, how do you see this one going?
I mean, it's not exactly like Preston's is much better, is it? I don't know. I think, like I said earlier, I think having Osmajic back for this game is it's going to be like a massive boost for Preston. I think especially this season, he is what the team's been crying out for. So I think you've got 2 weeks with Hecky, obviously, the players that are going and coming back. But I do think it is a massive 2 weeks to say the performances haven't been good enough. There's no leadership in the team. It's either, I think it's time to put a lot of pressure on the players from Hecky. I think it is a case of, sort your leadership out, sort your performances out, or I think you'll soon find yourself gone in January. But I do hope it's a very good game, and I do hope it's finally 3 points and an away win. And I think with Osmajic coming back and hopefully a change in the team, we can achieve it.
Okay. So, all right. Cheers for that, Harvey. Then, finally, then on this channel, we are doing a bit crazy this week. We've gone all American because of the American election, and we're asking what have been the biggest American influences on Preston North End from a North America or South American point of view. We asked AI to come up with one as well. I'll give you that ridiculous answer in a minute. Let's see. Hopefully, you guys can do better. What did you come up with? Anyone?
Yeah, Eddie Lewis for me. He was superb. What a great winger. And when he left to go Leeds, we just never kind of replaced him for a long time. So he was massive when I was growing up. Good shout. Any others?
Does the Caribbean count? Am I allowed to include?
We allowed one on another channel. Yeah. Go on.
I have very fond memories of Chris Humphrey, especially during the League One campaigns. His goal at Doncaster, his involvement in the playoff campaign, and then his final season in the first season of the Championship. I loved him. Really good player. I think it's a shame to say that as soon as you asked this question, the first player that popped into my head was Matthew Wallace Sunday, who was tragic. So, yeah.
Could be worse. I thought of Eddie Johnson. But if you're
Oh.
going to go Caribbean, you could have gone Ricardo Fuller, and we've gone Chris Humphreys instead, which is a bit disappointing.
I'm younger. I'm younger.
Yeah. I'm just old now. I get that.
First one that popped into my head was Ola Sunday, and then I just remembered he's absolutely blinder at Blackburn away, and I didn't want to say it anymore, to be honest.
You can't be forgetting Wolves away either. Like, wow, what a performance!
Right, cheers for that. Yeah, the ChatGPT one is it just needs fact checking. It says Ian Harkes was an American midfielder. He was a son of US soccer legend John Harkes, although never actually played for Preston. Okay, great. There you go.
Now you said Ian, though. We had Ian Hume.
Yeah,
Which I completely forgot.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
People typing on the keyboard right now, going, "How these?"
Yeah,
we all forgot Liam Miller as well. We all forgot Liam Miller.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're all coming back now.
I'm massive on Miller, to be honest.
He's out for the season now, which is obviously devastating for him. Right, okay. Yeah, well, sorry, we failed on that one. I'm sure you did a lot better. Write in the comments below and tell us how rubbish we are, and of course how rubbish AI is also as well. We'll catch you after this 2-week break, and of course when we see you next, we'll be reviewing Preston and Derby County. See you then. Have a good 2 weeks off.